Okay. So I'm gonna try to go over the prophecy of Judah. Um, like so the two. So there's two houses, right? There's the house of Israel and the house of Judah. And this is not going to seem important at first because a lot of this has already been fulfilled, but it's going to be important when we get to the house of Judah, or I mean the house of Israel. So the house of Judah is Judah and Benjamin. And then the house of Israel is the other 10 tribes, the 10 northern tribes. But right now, it's just about the house of Judah. Okay, so we're going to start at Daniel 9, um, verse 1. And so, first, just like I have these like in my Bible, like it has like dates or whatever. So it kind of helps. And I've basically just been going off of this, but I'll just have these up here to kind of help move things along. But so Daniel 9 is at around 538 BC. Okay. In the first year of Darius, the son of Asarius, of the seed, or actually, before I continue, I might get things wrong about prophecy. So just read it for yourself, please. I don't claim to know this stuff. I've literally just been reading what like the cross references in my Bible and trying to go to different places. So if anybody thinks that like I'm wrong, please say something in the comments and please read what people have to say because I haven't been like reading this too long. It's only been like a few days, so yeah, please be patient with me. But anyways, okay. And I just wanted to get this up because I don't want to keep this to myself because it seems pretty important and it's just like yeah, it's just amazing to see this. But in the first year of Darius, the son of Asarius, of the seed of the Medes, which was made king over the realm of the Chaldeans, in the first year of his reign, Daniel understood by books the number of the years, whereof the word of the Lord came to Jeremiah the prophet, that he would accomplish 70 years in the desolations of Jerusalem. So when you read that, you have to go you have to go find where this is talking about. But we're just going to continue, and then we'll get there. And I set my face unto the Lord God to seek by prayer and supplications with fasting and sackcloth and ashes. And I prayed unto the Lord my God and made my confession and said, O Lord, the great and dreadful God, keeping covenant and mercy to them that love him and to them that keep his commandments. You can tell that this is a reference from like Deuteronomy, um, like many times. And then if you learn what this means, have mercy, not sacrifice. Um, from Hosea 6:6. We have sinned and have committed iniquity and have done wickedly and have rebelled, even by departing from thy precepts and from thy judgments. Neither have we hearkened unto thy servants the prophets, which spake in thy name to our kings, our princes, and our fathers, and to all the people of the land. O Lord, righteousness belongeth unto thee, but unto us confusion of faces as at this day, to the men of Judah, and to the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and unto all Israel that are near and that are far off, through all the countries whither thou hast driven them, because of their trespass that they have trespassed against thee. So now let's go into what the 70 years is talking about. And you can look this up online too, but I kind of just read this through cross references and stuff in my Bible. But so this is in Jeremiah 25. Um, and so Jeremiah 25 is about 605 BC. But yeah, that's just kind of for reference. Um, I don't know if I'll read the whole thing, but you can kind of read through this. Um, Basically, Jeremiah was from from the beginning. Like if you read from Jeremiah 1, like chapter 1, he kind of references that he's been warning since the beginning, um, like from the 13th year, until the that it's kind of referencing like all that he's saying uh, in the book of Jeremiah. Um, but so like continues. Um, Behold, I will send and take all the families of the north, saith the Lord, and Nebuchadnezzar the king of Babylon, my servant, and will bring them against this land, and against the inhabitants thereof, and against all these nations round about, and will utterly destroy them, and make them an astonishment and hissing, and perpetual desolations. Moreover, I will take from them the voice of mirth, and the voice of gladness, the voice of the bridegroom, and the voice of the bride, the sound of the millstones, and the light of the candle. And this whole land shall be desolation and an astonishment, and these nations shall serve the king of Babylon 70 years. Okay? And it shall come to pass, when 70 years are accomplished, that I will punish the king of Babylon and that nation, saith the Lord, for this iniquity in the land of the Chaldeans, and will make it perpetual desolations. And I will bring upon that land all my words which I pronounced against it, even all that is written in this book, which Jeremiah prophesied against all the nations. Um, so now, if we read where this is talked about, like where this kind of begins, so this is in Second Chronicles 36. So let's just go here. So Second Chronicles 36, according to the, I guess, scholars and whatnot, um, it's kind of like around 609 BC. Um, and maybe I won't read through this, but you can read through the whole chapter. Um, but then so really, it gets into it. Let's start here, verse 17, or actually verse 16, because it's kind of. But they mocked the messengers of God, and despised his words, and misused his prophets, until the wrath of the Lord arose against his people, till there was no remedy. Um, this is this is the same thing that happens with Israel, the house of Israel, um, but just on a, I guess, in a grander scale, I guess. Um, but it's the same thing that will happen to Israel, in a sense. So it's important to kind of like remember these things that happen to Judah, because if you do the same thing that Judah does, then like for like their punishment and whatnot, then like if you do the same thing that they did, then what makes you think that anything different would happen to you? Like, why would you think that you'd get less of a punishment if you've even had more time than them? But, anyways, therefore he brought upon the king of the Chaldees, who slew their young men with the sword in the house of their sanctuary, and had no compassion upon young man or maiden, or old man, or him that stoopeth for age. He gave them all into his hand, and all the vessels of the house of God, great and small, and the treasures of the house of the Lord, and the treasures of the king and of his princes, all these he brought to Babylon. And they burnt the house of God, and brake down the wall of Jerusalem, and burnt all the palaces thereof with fire, and destroyed all the goodly vessels thereof. And them that had escaped from the sword carried he away to Babylon, where they were servants to him and his sons until the reign of the king of Persia, to fulfill the word of the Lord by the mouth of Jeremiah, until the land had enjoyed her Sabbaths. For as long as she lay desolate, she kept Sabbath to fulfill 60 years. 60 is 60, 10 is 10, so 60 plus 10 is 70 years. So it's the same thing as Jeremiah 25. Um, so now, if you remember, this was 609 BC that this was starting to happen. And so if you subtract 70 years from this, you get to 539 BC, which is approximately 538 BC. So it's kind of just like, it's like really just about there. So like you could kind of plus or minus a year or so. Um, but yeah, so that's the first thing I wanted to get to. Now, kind of just reminding. So Daniel 9. This was at 538. Um, so now there's also the prophecy in Ezekiel, and it talks about both the house of Israel and the house of Judah. Um, so yeah, let's read that. Thou also, son of man, take thee a tile and lay it before thee, and portray upon it the city, even Jerusalem, and lay siege against it, and build a fort against it, and cast a mount. Or actually, before I continue, so when this happens, so after the 70 years, then Judah returns. So that's what that's what's happening. Like that's what has happened. Judah returned around 538 BC. If I'm wrong about this, then please correct me. Um, but yeah, that was like there was the destruction of them. And that was like with like the 70 years, um, and then like this Ezekiel kind of talks about their like captivity and such. Um, so thou also, son of man, take thee a tile and lay it before thee, and portray upon it the city, even Jerusalem, and lay siege against it, and build a fort against it, and cast a mount against it, set the camp also against it, and set battering rams against it round about. Moreover, take thou unto thee an iron pan, and set it for a wall of iron between thee and the city, and set thy face against it, and it shall be besieged, and thou shalt lay siege against it. This shall be a sign to the house of Israel. Lie thou also upon thy left side, and lay the iniquity of the house of Israel upon it. According to the number of days that thou shalt lie upon it, thou shalt bear their iniquity. For I have laid upon thee the years of their iniquity, according to the number of the days, 390 days, so shalt thou bear the iniquity of the house of Israel. So Israel will bear their iniquity, their punishment, for 390 years, because a day is representing a year. And when thou hast accomplished them, lie again on thy right side, and thou shalt bear the iniquity of the house of Judah. What we were kind of reading, 40 days, and I have appointed thee each day for a year, that therefore thou shalt set thy face toward the siege of Jerusalem, and thine arm shall be uncovered, and thou shalt prophesy against it. And behold, I will lay bands upon thee, and thou shalt not turn thee from till thou hast ended the days of thy siege. So the house of Judah will be, um, sounds like is that they're going to be in captivity for about 40 years, or well, no, for 40 years, um, and so we kind of see this. I don't want to really read this whole thing, but so and also Jeremiah 52 kind of or no, that was never mind. Actually, maybe it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Okay, ignore what I just was thinking in my head. Um, so Jeremiah 52. So this it kind of says it here, but um, it starts at 587 BC. About 587 in my Bible. I think it was 586. Um, but that's important to remember as we're reading because that's not the exact date. So Zedekiah was 120 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 11 years. And his mother's name was Hamutal, the daughter of Jeremiah, Libnah. And he did that which was evil in the eyes of the Lord, according to all that Jehoiakim had done. For through the anger of the Lord he came to pass in Jerusalem and Judah, till he had cast them out of his presence, that Zedekiah rebelled against the king of Babylon. And it came to pass in the 9th year of his reign, in the 10th month, in the 10th day of the month, that Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came, he and all of his army, against Jerusalem, and pitched against it, and built forts against it round about. So this is the same thing that you read in Ezekiel 4. So this is the 9th year, but it said that around 587, 587, 586, whatever, um, that's when Zedekiah started to reign. So now if you go about 9 years or so, you get to 578 BC. So this is when it began. Um, and so so the city was besieged until the 11th year. So it was besieged from the ninth year to the 11th year. In the fourth month and the ninth day of the month, the famine was sore in the city, so that there was no bread for the people of the land. Then the city was broken up, and all the men of war fled and went forth out of the city by night by the way of the gate between the two walls, which was by the king's garden. Now the Chaldeans were by the city round about, and they went by the way of the plain. But the army of the Chaldeans pursued after the king and overtook Zedekiah in the plains of Jericho, and all his army was scattered from him. Um, and then Babylon slew Zedekiah, and this is kind of when the captivity starts. But anyways, so the 40 years, yeah, because that's the end of the scriptures I have. So the 40 years. So if you then subtract 40 from 578 BC, well, you get to 538 BC. Um, so that's when they were to return. Um, and they did according to Daniel 9. But then now, so if you realize that that prophecy has been fulfilled, and we still see the Jews today, right? They're in the land called Israel, or the nation called Israel, whatnot. Although they're still the two houses, so they're just the Jews, like they're just Judah, um, but they're still the northern kingdom, which is the 10 other tribes. So not Judah, not Benjamin. Um, so they were supposed to. Let me check time for a second, though. Okay, we're good on time. So 390 years they were supposed to return. Um, 309 years. So if we subtract, well, actually, first, so you have to read Second Kings 17. Um, and actually, yeah, let me see if I can pull that real quick. Okie Second Kings. Second Kings. Just really quick reading it. Second Kings. Okay, yeah, there we go. Okay, yeah, okay, I got what I wanted. Okay, so Second Kings 17. So 390 years, right? And this is, I guess, it's kind of just for context, whatever. Um, it can kind of help. So when was Second Kings 17? That wasn't helpful. Let's check this. So in my Bible it says 732 BC. Um, let's see here. Yeah, so 732 BC. So in the 12th year of Ahaz, king of Judah, began Hosea, the son of Eli, to reign in Samaria over Israel 9 years. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, but not as the kings of Israel that were before him. And against him came up Shalmaneser, king of Syria, and Hosea became his servant and gave him presents. And the king of Assyria found conspiracy in Hosea, for he had sent messengers to So, king of Egypt, and brought no present to the king of Assyria, as he had done year by year. Therefore the king of Assyria shut him up and bound him in prison. Then the king of Assyria came up through all the land, and went up to Samaria and besieged it 3 years. In the 9th year of Uzziah, king of Assyria took Samaria and carried Israel away into Assyria, and placed them in Hala and in Habor by the river of Gozan, and in the city of the Medes. For so it was that children of Israel had sinned against the Lord their God, which had brought them up out of the land of Egypt from under the hand of Pharaoh king of Egypt, and had feared other gods. So it starts off 2 Kings 17 with being in year 732 BC, and then in the 9th year they were taken. Israel, the house of Israel, was taken away. So this is around 722 BC, when the 390 years began, according to Ezekiel, uh, Ezekiel 4. Um, so now, if you subtract 390 from 722, you get what? You get 332, I think. 332 BC. So that's when they should have returned. Um, but if you look in the world today, you don't see that. You just see the Jews, which is the two southern tribes, like the southern kingdom, the um, the two tribes of Benjamin and Judah. So if they don't return, then according to Leviticus 26, 7 times is their punishment. Um, so let me just go there. Leviticus 26. I think it's Leviticus 26. I hope so. Um, Let me search for 7. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, essentially, like, if you don't listen to God, keep His commandments. If you don't listen to Him, He'll punish you 7 times more for your sins. And originally, their punishment was 390 years. Judah returned after their 4 years of punishment, so they didn't have the 7 times. But the house of Israel didn't return. So 390 times 7 is like 2,730. Wait, yeah, 2,730. So let's just do a quick math. 2,730 minus 722. And so that gets us to about 2008. So now the end of the uh, like the end of the punishment of the house of Israel should have ended at 2008. So that means that people are supposed to now return. Um, and maybe if this is your first time hearing of this, um, people started to keep the commandments. They started to turn back to God and be able to hear things in Scripture around 2008. And that's where you get the Torah movement. Um, Now, where the Torah movement goes wrong is they see what happened to Judah, and they go back and do what Judah did. Um, because if you read, like, say, Isaiah 1, God didn't make people serve him through sacrifices, but yet the Torah movement, they want to go back and put people under the feasts when you're still in captivity. Um, so, like, you don't have, um, like, your kingdom isn't restored. So you can't be doing these feasts. You're still in a polluted land. You're not even in Jerusalem. So, like, especially if you're doing it, trying to do things in America. Um, so that's kind of the prophecy, and if and I guess yeah. So who did the Messiah come for? Well, you actually learned that he came. Da, da, da. Let's see here. I think it's Matthew 15. Um, oh boy, trying to do things on the spot. Okay, but he answered her not a word, and his disciples came and besought him, saying, "Send her away, for she crieth after us." But he answered and said, I am not sent, but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Because Yeshua came not for the world, but for the lost sheep of the house of Israel, because they were scattered into the Gentiles. Um, this is what happened because um, you read this prophecy, or I mean, like you read this happen in uh, Jeremiah, like where it's talks about that the sheep are scattered over the four corners of the earth. Um, and like you could even read in James, James, a servant of God and of the Lord Yeshua Messiah, to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad. Greeting. Um, so yeah, it's all about the 12. I mean, like the 10 lost tribes returning, um, because the two sticks will become one, and this has not happened yet. Um, and so people in the Christians are the lost tribes of the house, like they're people of the lost tribes of the house of Israel. They're scattered in the Gentiles, and that's who Yeshua came for. Um, so the job of any person that's following the Messiah is to find those sheep that are lost and that are scattered abroad. This is even what Yeshua told the disciples to do, to shake the dust off their feet because they're looking for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Um, so I hope this maybe helps, and if there's anything that I just completely messed up or whatever, because I'm sure that can happen. Um, just put something in comments, and then hopefully people will read those, um, because just as Paul writes, like for one, like don't despise prophecy. So any of these things you should read out and study out, but also um, nobody like I'm not the one that's like just having all the prophecy or whatever. Um, so if anyone else can confirm these things, then that's also good. But if it's just wrong, then that's also good to know. Like for me and for other people. But yeah, so go find the lost sheep